Thanks for joining us on this wild ride called parenthood here at Parenting Shrink-Wrapped. We hope today's episode gave you some useful tools and maybe even a few laughs to help you navigate the twists and turns of raising teens and kids.
Remember, parenting is a journey, not a destination. And no matter where you are on the road, we're here to help you stay on course. Whether it's monumental meltdowns, teenage turmoil, or just the everyday chaos, you don't have to travel this path alone.
So until next time, keep your seatbelt fastened, your sense of humor intact, and your eyes on the road. We'll be back soon with more compassionate conversations and practical strategies to support you and your family.
Don't forget to subscribe to Parenting Shrink-Wrapped wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. And if you've enjoyed today's show, we'd love it if you'd leave us a review and share it with a friend.
If you have suggestions for topics you'd like to see us cover in the future, feel free to send us an email at parentingshrinkwrapped@gmail.com.
Until we meet again, take care and enjoy the ride. Welcome back to Parenting Shrink-Wrapped. Melissa and Sam here today to talk about, honestly, something that is a parent's worst nightmare sometimes, when your kid's being bullied. So this is a topic that, unfortunately, a lot of parents have dealt with or may deal with in the future, and what to do when your kid is the target of bullying.
Yeah, and first of all, I love that you said target. When I'm talking to parents about bullying, that's one of the first things I suggest is don't call your kid victim, call them target. Sometimes they feel like a victim, but that's not how we want kids who are being bullied to feel, right? We want them to feel empowered to make a change on this one, and sometimes the language we use like right out of the starting block. So I love that you use the word target. And this is so, I got a call actually just last week from a parent coaching client who was concerned because their kid was in a new social environment and they had worried about how it was going to go. And we'd done some talking about like how to prepare their child. And the kid, who runs a little anxious, was doing some refusal about re-entering that setting.
Yeah.
And after a few days of refusal, like the parents, got him to come clean that there was some teasing happening. And the parents reached out saying, I think we might have a bullying situation. And I was like, well, maybe we do, but let's define bullying. So should we start there?
I think we should definitely start there because I think sometimes it does get mislabeled. So bullying isn't, I had a fight with my friends or a falling out with my friend group, which happens. Kids change friends over the years. It can feel similarly to the child and even to the parents, but it doesn't make it bullying. Bullying is something different.
Bullying is marked by three things, generally speaking. There's a power imbalance between the bully and the target, or the bullies and the target.
Yeah.
It happens repeatedly over time, so it's not a one-off mean behavior. So if this is a single, like, horrible mean thing, that's what we call it. Mean.
Yeah, it's a mean thing.
Yeah. And it has as its intent to cause distress for the target.
Yeah.
That's bullying. So sometimes people behave in ways that cause distress, but it's by accident. They're just being like oblivious or like you said, it's just like,
and sometimes kids can just be mean.
Right. And I'm not excusing the mean.
No. We're not excusing mean. Kids shouldn't be mean, but it happens.
Yes. And so if your child comes home and they've had someone treat them in a mean way, definitely some of what we're going to talk about today is relevant. But bullying really involves those three things. Happens over time, marked by a power imbalance, with the intent to cause distress in the target.
Yeah. And
Those
there's
are markers.
various forms of this too. So bullying is kind of broad. It can be verbal, it could be physical, it can be
Cyber.
cyberbullying as well.
Yep.
So this can look different in different contexts as well.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about power before we move on, right? Before we talk about like signs. In bullying peaks in seventh grade. Like that's what we know. Bullying peaks in the middle of middle
In
school.
middle school, the most fun years.
Yeah, yeah. And that's not to say the other grades are immune to it, but it peaks because of what's going on for kids socially and developmentally, right? They've got this massive brain upgrade that's just begun. They're highly emotional. They're very responsive to their peers. They listen to what I call the loudest need, not the highest priority need. So
Yeah.
if the loudest need is like, oh, I want to curry favor with a friend group, I can do that by stepping on someone else. Or
Mm-hmm.
maybe they find someone terribly annoying at school and they don't have the distress tolerance to find someone annoying and do nothing about it. So they find someone annoying and they're like, well, this is I must treat them in a way that makes them know how annoying they are to
Yeah,
me.
they react to it.
Yeah, yeah. So bullying peaks in seventh grade, and think about what causes power for a middle schooler.
Social
Numbers,
status.
social status, and what breeds social status? Like having friends in a certain friend group. Generally for boys it's athleticism, that's one of the
Mm-hmm.
things, right? Sometimes also power can be bred by having permissive parents. Like, if you've got parents who don't put firm rules around things and kids are like, well, I've got unfettered access to Snapchat, or I'm allowed to have parties at my house where there's little supervision, or whatever it is. But permissive parents
They've
can
been handed power.
they've been handed social cachet in middle and high school, right?
Yeah.
And that doesn't, by the way, turn out well after middle and high school.
No.
But that can breed power, right? So numbers, social prowess, and different ways to have social prowess. And also sometimes circumstances can breed power. So like you can have a kid who is powerful in one setting and not in another because just dynamics have shifted. And we'll put a pin in that because when we're talking about what to say to your kid, I actually like to have parents tease out the power dynamics with their child, like for them to understand it. So we can pause on that one and come back to it. But signs.
Signs that your kid might be getting bullied. Sam already mentioned one, that the kid was refusing to go to school. So school avoidance. If school is the place where the bullying is taking place, your kid who never had a problem going to school before might suddenly be, oh, my stomach hurts, or I don't feel well, I don't want to go, without much other information behind it.
Yeah. Um, I remember. Were you ever bullied, by the way?
Mm-hmm.
How old were you?
I was in high school, so I was a little bit older than, I guess, where the peak is.
Yeah. What grade in high school do you remember? I'm sure you do.
Um, most of high school.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you remember this from I was bullied in elementary school.
Okay.
There was
So
a
we're on
girl.
opposite ends here.
Uh-huh. There was a girl down the street whose brother was really nice to me. I used to have
Oh,
a
that's an
brother.
interesting dynamic.
I know, I had a brother crush on him. I didn't have brothers, and I really liked this boy. I was like, I want him to be my older brother, but his sister is a terror. And I remember she took my Rubik's Cube. I was a kid of the 80s,
Oh,
and I brought my Rubik's Cube, and she
hey,
took it.
cubing is back. It's not. I had a kid coming to the office yesterday with one.
Yeah, so she took it, and she said, can I see that? Can I play with it on the bus? And I let her, and she didn't give it back. And I went home in tears and then she had taken it apart. She had not just she'd taken the cubes off of whatever the center core thing and given it back to me in pieces at the end of the day. I was so upset. And she was also kind of just mean in general. But I remember that feeling of not wanting to go to the bus stop because she could be there. Even though I could be there too, right? And for you in high school, did you have avoidance issues in parts of your high school experience?
Yeah. Because I didn't want to be subjected to it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it happened with fellow teammates, which was a really tough dynamic.
Oh, so you
So
were
it
like on a
happened at
sports team,
sports. It happened within school sports.
and you liked the sport?
I loved the sport. It was my favorite sport growing up.
Was it figure skating?
No, it was
Oh,
basketball. But
basketball.
at all of 5'1", Sam,
I
my
was going to say,
basketball career was not going
if
far.
you told me you played basketball, like that's not what I would have
I
predicted.
was a guard, obviously. At 5'1", I wasn't going far in the basketball world. But no, basketball was actually my favorite sport growing up.
Okay. So like did you have issues like not wanting to go to practice?
Yes and no. Unfortunately, too, didn't have a coach that was intervening at all.
Mhm.
Had
Mhm.
a very permissive coach in the school, my school team.
Right. So even like asking the adult in charge to do
The
something. Okay.
adult in charge wasn't going to help me, and it was unfortunate.
So you've got like this is an activity I love. I don't want to be subjected to the bullying, but I love the activity. So like bitter taste in your mouth from
Bitter taste in my mouth completely. It definitely ruined some of it for me.
and you have a backbone. You know what I mean? Like I can imagine that in high school you didn't turn out as feisty as you are now by not by not having some of that in high school.
No, and
So
I definitely did.
right? So there's like it wasn't like you were a pushover in general or just kind of let things run you over, right? So you were going in with more reserves than some kids who get bullied have.
Yeah.
And you still
But
had
I was
avoidance.
it sparked, I would say, for me, a lot of anxiety.
Sure. Which is the next one,
Yeah.
right? Anxiety and somatic experiences, that's if you've got a kid who's like, oh, I like phantom stomach aches, headaches, right? And I'm sure you see this in your practice all the time.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
They'll deny, kids will come in and deny that they're worried, upset, stressed, anxious, no matter what like feeling word you use, but physically it's like their stomach hurts every day. They have a headache every day. We've been through the workup and there's nothing physically wrong with them.
Yeah. Right. Except that they physically feel the pain that they're dealing
Yeah,
with.
no, the pain and the feelings are real. So, um,
All right.
anxiety definitely happens in bullying. And I think the
Mhm.
other thing for some kids is irritability, but it's irritability coming out not necessarily in that situation. It can be outside of the situation. So, which is tough too, because you've got moody preteen teenagers on your hands. So, but I think you're looking for that difference and that shift and a change, like in
Right.
your child's behavior.
Right. So if you're like, why are you always in a cranky mood? Yeah, it could be adolescence, but it could also be because because I don't want to talk about the fact that some social dynamic is horrible for me to have to
Yep.
withstand. Right. Right.
So,
And then there's behavioral shifts that we see, like we've talked about avoidance or withdrawal
yeah.
from certain activities, grades. I also like sometimes, like eating, sleeping, that can change too because of just distress levels increase,
Mm-hmm. For
right?
sure.
Um, and then also, I find that sometimes kids say they like drop certain things that we may dust under the rug as parents. Like why, like for example, in your basketball team, like your parents are like, first of all, did you tell your parents that you were being bullied? Did they
They
know?
knew.
Okay. So
And
if
they did try to mitigate it. And unfortunately, the wrong adults were in place at school.
yeah. Um, well, if the kid has not disclosed to the parent, right? They may like, and the parent's like, well, let me take you to basketball, or why don't you call your teammates for pickup over the week, or, and we'll drop you off at the court.
There
Oh,
was,
they don't
yeah.
like me.
So there was actually an incident that happened on school property that my mother fully witnessed. So, and even that didn't make the school do anything about it.
And that's the hard part too, is like there is a sort of a set of recourse, there's a set of steps that parents can take, and what do you do when the school doesn't doesn't handle it. And that has to do with like how much resilience your child has. And like you had enough to withstand a really crappy situation, but there's plenty of kids who don't. They run out of resilience, in
Yeah.
which you have to step in and do something. And it might mean changing the setting for your kid.
Yeah.
Um, but like when if kids say things like, "Oh, they don't like me," or if you point out like I don't know, your teammates weren't that nice to you, and your kids are like, "Oh no, it's nothing, it's nothing." Like it could be that they're
Could be
afraid.
something.
Yeah, they're afraid to either enter that situation or they're afraid to tell you because they're like, mom's going to do something about this or dad's going to do something about this. And already, like the devil I know is better than the devil I don't. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
And I think though too, like kids do have a point. You have to be careful as a parent to regulate your own response and before you kind of like let mama or papa bear fully out of the bag.
truth. And you know what? You might like cyberbullying too, because you might actually see the bullying. Like if you're monitoring your kid's phone, for example,
As you
and
should be.
yeah, and you see like certain stuff going down and like
Mm-hmm.
in a group text or whatever, like you may see it and have to say like, "Hey, this is not okay."
No.
And you may be like, "I want to tear, I want to bang heads here, right?" Like you may be really upset about it or distressed, and your kid may be really dismissive because they're afraid of losing whatever tenuous social footing they already have.
And also too, you might be triggered yourself. Like if you were bullied, you might end up being triggered from your own past experiences. So you do have to like kind of pause and go, wait a second, like let me understand
Yeah.
and have a conversation with your kid.
I think that it's like when children are younger, parents are used to stepping in and being the conflict resolvers,
They don't
and
do
that's
that with teens.
no, and sometimes even pre-teens too, because you don't know how the other parent, even if you know the other parent well, like you don't know how the other parent is going to interpret what you're saying and then translate it to their kid, and you don't know if that kid's going to then go to school and be like, your mom tattled on me,
Mm-hmm.
and take revenge.
Yeah.
So I generally like when I was a school counselor and parents would call me with bullying situations, they'd say like, should I call the other family? I kind of know the parent. And I'd be like, no,
Nope.
no, you should not. I really don't think so. I think you should like let's see if we can like stay in touch, and we'll see if we can let me be the middleman as the school person, um, or let the disciplinarian. As a school counselor, it wasn't usually me intervening on bullying. I was there like supporting the kid who was being bullied, and then I was in the ear of the disciplinarian, being like, "You got to catch this in the act and squelch it." Right?
Yeah.
Like that was. Um, so, and you might have like revenge fantasies, right? For the perpetrator. Like, I just want this kid to go down. Also, Melissa, I've seen this plenty of times. Kids who were mean to each other then like mend fences and actually like either get on decent terms, civil terms, and in some cases friendships, which is rare, but I've seen it.
It does happen.
Yeah.
That
And
was
so
not my personal experience.
no, so we want to badmouth the behavior but not the kid. So
Yeah.
like if your child is we want to say like, hey, what John is doing is unacceptable. It's making things unsafe and unwelcoming for you at school. This behavior is so out of pocket. We don't want to say John is a little rat, like
Well,
we
and
don't.
I don't ever like to label anyone as bad. Like there's no bad kids. Like
Right.
there's bad behaviors, we make bad choices sometimes, but there's not bad kids.
And the reason people bully is, like I said, like unfinished brain development, like the social cachet it gets them, or what they're all dealing with their own stuff, and I'm not excusing it, but everybody does grow up and their skulls harden, and and things can change. So let's say your kid either comes to you or you discover and you confront your child. What would you say? What do you say when you know that your kid's being bullied?
I think you have to lead with kind of an open, curious question and not pointing fingers from the get go and just trying to get a basic understanding of what they're experiencing. Just be curious. Like, how did your day go? What happened? Very general questions, and try to take the kid's lead.
But if you are trying to probe about the nature of the bullying, um, again, it's okay to ask specific questions. But your point about like stay curious, that is not easy because we want to jump to like rah, like that's so
Yep.
not okay, right?
But
And
I think if they do open up, you also have to be praising the fact that they shared
Mhm.
with you.
Yeah.
Particularly, it's hard for a lot of kids to share this kind of information because it also makes them feel bad talking about it.
Yes. So, like, thank you. I know this is hard. I'm sure it's uncomfortable. Um, and then you also have to collaborate with your kid. Like, let's talk about next steps. Because the kid may be like, I want you to call the teacher or the school in some form. Or the kid may be like, under no circumstances do I want you to do that. Right?
Which might be the more common response in
Yes.
my
Yeah. And so
experience.
here's my suggested answer if a kid says that to you. Say, all right, I, I can only agree to that, and I will not agree to that permanently, but I can only agree to that at least temporarily if I know the following are true. One, you need to tell me how you're doing. Like, how sustainable is this for you? How big of a problem is this? Are there times during your day when this is not a problem and you can regroup and reboot? You know,
Mm-hmm.
because if a kid is getting bullied everywhere, and cyberbullying, by the way, makes this worse if they've got access to tech during the
Because
day.
then it's nonstop and it's
Yeah, right.
24/7.
Then, like, again, you have to discern how much reserves your kid has, how many tools they have in their toolbox still. And bullying over time depletes a toolbox.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't improve a toolbox
No.
generally. No. So you can say, all right, I'll listen for now, but on the condition of you tell me kind of how well or poorly you're handling this, and we keep in touch about this. But here's the balancing act. Um, there was a psychologist. His name is Michael Thompson. He's written a lot of books about raising boys and the relationship between parents and schools. Like he's a prolific writer. He was at a school that I worked at years ago, and he was presenting to parents, and he talked about the bad habit of what he called mining for the pain. So like
Oh,
when your kid comes home and you're like, tell me about the bad. Did John was
and
John
you keep
annoying? Like
poking at that.
you're like picking the scab, yeah, poking at it. So it's a fine line between checking in on the status of the bullying and how your child is doing, and every second being like, then what did he do? That now what happened, right? And
And
being
that might be your instinct to do because if you know your child is hurting or this is happening to your kid, that might be your natural instinct. And like
absolutely
you're worried yourself. So your anxiety's turned up. So you just want to keep asking because you want to fix it. And there's not
precisely,
necessarily a quick fix, unfortunately.
precisely. So, um, and then we also need to teach kids, okay, how to manage this. And so I talked earlier about the power imbalance, and so that's something I would want to help the kid understand, like, why does so and so have more power in this setting,
Mm-hmm.
and are there settings at school where you do feel powerful? How does it feel? How do you behave? Can we transfer that feeling to this other place, or is it not possible? Right, like, and sometimes it isn't
Yeah.
possible. Can we strengthen your numbers? Like, do you have allies? Some kids do have allies in some settings. Well, can we get them to be with you? Like, can we make you less alone during the school
Can
day?
we walk with them in the hallways if
Precisely. Yeah. So like give kids, and these sound like basics, but there are some kids who need to be taught these tools to kind of strengthen their presence in the kid community.
mm-hmm.
Um, and I also find that bullies tend to be, not always, but quick verbally witted and
Yeah.
pretty willing to use their quick wit for evil. and and targets often are not.
Mm-hmm.
They're not quick verbally witted. And so what I say is this: teach your child not to enter a battlefield they're ill prepared to fight on.
Yeah, because
Because
they're gonna lose verbally to the bully.
exactly. So a bully might be like, what do egging them on, asking them to respond, and the kid might be like, oh yeah, well, you did this, and the bully or the bully and their friends are just going to laugh and poke fun. Especially kids with like lower social IQ, I actually have them practice dirty looks when I'm working with them. Serious. So it's nonverbal. And sometimes I have to teach them the difference between a look that looks defeated and a look that looks like I can't be bothered with this, you're beneath me.
Yeah.
And like they need that feedback. And I help them frankly sometimes mutter curse words, not say them out loud because usually kids are around or teachers are around, but like kind of like like mutter the F word, go away, like, but they need something that is an assertive response that isn't entering the verbal battlefield or whatever the battlefield is that they
Yeah.
can't fight on. They need something, because sometimes parents will be like, just ignore it, it's not a big deal. No, we don't want them
But
to
I think
ignore
that's
it.
invalidating to the kid. You
Yeah.
can't just tell a kid, like, oh, just ignore it, toughen up, like, because that makes those feelings that the child's experiencing not valid feelings.
Yes. So this is one thing. So this is a assertive response, like body language. And then what I say is you have to get out of dodge. So you give a dirty look, and if you ideally then you leave the scene. And if you can't leave the scene physically, then you turn away and turn your back towards the scene. Like you disengage from the scene. You don't stay waiting for the next you know
Hit.
grenade launch. Yes, exactly. Right. And that takes practicing. I remember I was doing this with a kid. He was a seventh grader. This was years ago, and he was being bullied. And he was so nice. This boy was like he very smart, like really a good student. He was so nice. And I did some reverse role playing with him. And he said, um, and I tried out some like sarcastic responses and some like dirty looks, and he liked when I used a sarcastic, like, oh, thanks for saying that, like I really appreciate that, he liked that response. But he was not good at sarcasm. So I was like, okay, I give you permission to bully me. And this was actually empowering for him because he said the mean words that the bully was saying to him to me. I was his teacher at the time. And um and I was like, can you say it meaner? I bet the bully says it meaner. So like I was helping him practice being
Assertive.
on the battlefield, right?
Yeah.
In a safe place. And then I was like, which of my responses do you like? And so then when he found one he liked, we reversed. And I said, is it all right? And I got permission to say the mean things. I said, is it all right if I say to you what the bully says to you? And I never knew who the bully was. He wouldn't disclose this to me. Said yes, so he gave me permission, and then I said whatever it was, and he goes, thanks. And I was like, oh buddy, you sound genuinely delighted to be insulted, like we need and he laughed. I was like, we need to get you a little snarkier. And so we practice and practice, and he was feeling so much better when he left. And I checked in with him like a week later, and I was like, how's it going? And he goes, it's gone, I fixed it. And I said, really? What did you do? He said, well, we were in a class together and the teacher assigned me a group with this person.
Oh, no.
Because he wouldn't tell me who it was. So I couldn't go to my colleagues and be like, don't put these two kids together.
Yeah.
He wouldn't tell me. And I said, so what'd you do? He said that the other kid came up to me and said, let's go work in the hallway. And he said, and I knew that meant let's go in the hallway where we're out of the eyes of the teacher.
Yeah.
I said, so what did you do? Did you thank him? Did you use the thank you technique? He goes, no, I got right back in his face and I just said, okay, just like that. And he said, and it stopped. And
because you changed the power dynamic.
Exactly. He's like, he stopped doing it anymore. And I was like, you got in his face, like, and this was a kid, like I said, he had some power in some places, like, and if bullying can stop from the kid, like the kid can handle it and make it stop, that's when it stops the best.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always.
No,
right?
And sometimes you do need to step in and have school step in.
Yeah. So how do we do that?
So,
I mean, I have some ideas because I worked in schools, but when you talk to...
I think if this is going on, I think you need to be documenting what's happening when...
Yes.
Keeping track if there are social media posts or text messaging or anything going on, you need proof of some of this, and stay factual, and don't go into school, with like blazing, rearing to go in factual in a calm manner
Yeah.
and say, I am concerned. This is what's going on with my child. Even if on the inside you're literally up in flames.
Yeah. I say don't storm the castle. That's exactly
Yep.
what I say. But sometimes you need to insist on a meeting with the king. like,
Yeah,
like
you might need like going to guidance would probably be first in my opinion, but if it's not doing anything, like you might need the principal or vice principal of the
Mhm.
school involved.
Yes. And you can ask that. Like again, as
Of
I was a school
course.
counselor and parents would call me and I would say, "Well, here's how the chain of communication happens in the background and for us. Like do you want me to take this to discipline?
Mm-hmm.
Do you, like I can be a support for your kid and I will be and I'll do the coaching for your child
Yeah.
who's the target, but that's where my role, that's my lane. Like, do you want me to take this to discipline? Because that's not my lane. And some
And,
parents would be like, not yet. Let's try it this way first, and
and then I think what you're asking of the school is what are they going to do to supervise
yeah,
what's going on? How are these behaviors go and actions going to be monitored? What are they going to do to try to mend or repair the situation or at least put an end to the situation?
yeah,
And then following up with you or the kid to make sure that this is actually repaired and
right,
not just like, okay, it just shifted. Oh, we're not doing it in this in English class anymore, so now it's shifted to math class.
yeah. And by repaired, we don't necessarily mean the relationship between the bully and the target
No.
gets repaired. That actually is usually a bad idea.
Yeah.
But it goes away, and concurrently, if your kid's a target, they probably do need. Like, yes, you should be working with the school. Yes, you should be putting a stop to this if it's above the kid's head.
Yeah.
And your kid might need training. Your kid might need training for how to manage this, so that
And
doesn't happen in the future too.
overall the goal of all this is that your kid builds resilience from what happened and it doesn't end up shaping and defining who they are.
Right, right. But we know it does. Like you were just talking about a bullying situation, and I could see on your face that you're like, no, that was bad,
That was bad.
right?
I
Like,
did not like high school as because of it.
sure, like that was bad, and you're a whole and complete person, but like that was bad. And so this brings me to like if your kid has had something like this happen, can they grow into a whole and complete adult? Oh yes, absolutely.
For
But
sure.
might
For
they
sure.
need to talk to somebody to process it, to feel good about themselves? Like if you feel like it's out of your depth. So we just had the episode that just dropped right before we're recording this was with Brian J. Dixon. He was a psychiatrist in Texas, and he was talking about raising kids who are different from you. But one of the things he said is, "You are the worst therapist for your kid.
Oh, yeah. And
You
I mean,
can't therapize your child."
Sam and I are both mental health professionals, and neither of us can be the therapist for our kids. We're
Right.
in mom roles, we're not in therapy roles, and
Yeah.
despite all the knowledge we have, it doesn't matter.
So you may need to seek professional help. And if any of the following show up, like if your kid's been targeted for too long and they've lost their reserves,
Yeah.
if you're seeing like signs of depression, if they're starting to take aggression out on themselves, like self-harm, right? School refusal. They're they just like overwhelmed, like it seems to be trickling into other things. This is coming out sideways in other situations
Yeah,
where
they're
bullying
not
isn't
sleeping,
happening.
they're not eating. We need
Yeah.
to make sure.
Yeah.
But
So that's get some professional help.
for
It's
sure,
mendable, yes, but
it
but
is
they
fixable.
they need some support. So this is a tough situation. Like this is so hard. And we can give you this roadmap, but here's what always happens. But what if? But what about this? Here's this like this mitigating circumstance. And you can reach out to us.
Yep.
You can find it parentingshrinkwrapped at gmail.com. And just note, like Melissa's a psychiatrist, so she sees clients and this comes their way, but I'm a parenting coach. This is the work that I do. Reach out to me at Teen Savvy Coaching, and I will, we can talk through this too. Like this is absolutely work I do to support kids through their parents.
Yeah.
Right. All right, and if you've got an anonymous like bullying dilemma, if you've got something you want us to talk through in the air, send us an email. We'd be delighted to do that for you.
Happy to do so.
Yeah. All right. If you've liked this episode, also let us know. Share it with a friend who may need to hear it. And as always, remember, we love you, we love your kids, and we are so grateful for the job you do to raise the next generation of world changers. Thanks for joining us on this wild ride called parenthood here at Parenting Shrink Wrapped. We hope today's episode gave you some useful tools and maybe even a few laughs to help you navigate the twists and turns of raising teens and kids.
Remember, parenting is a journey, not a destination. And no matter where you are on the road, we're here to help you stay on course. Whether it's monumental meltdowns, teenage turmoil, or just the everyday chaos, you don't have to travel this path alone.
So until next time, keep your seatbelt fastened, your sense of humor intact, and your eyes on the road. We'll be back soon with more compassionate conversations and practical strategies to support you and your family.
Don't forget to subscribe to Parenting Shrinkwrapped wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. And if you've enjoyed today's show, we'd love it if you'd leave us a review and share it with a friend.
If you have suggestions for topics you'd like to see us cover in the future, feel free to send us an email at parentingshrinkwrapped@gmail.com.
Until we meet again, take care and enjoy the ride.